Alright, so this is me testing out what the acoustics sounds like in my car. Ins and outs, yeah. Okay, we running, right? So, what I'm also going to do is do a little drivey drive around the block to see how we hitting on this. Because I have a 12-ish hour drive ahead of me. And with that, I figured there will be points where I have something to say. Now, with that being said, what am I going to say? I don't know. I mean, I guess I have a thought process, sure. But I also kind of just want to live in my truth by living in the moment, right? That's something I do, but I think I feel a subconscious pressure from society to not do that, right? Oh, yeah, right? Safety first, right? But yeah, I think I feel a societal pressure to not live in my truest me, right? And my truest me is really like by the moment, by the second type of situation. And I don't know. I think I find an internal pressure from external factors of like, live this way, do this. And I mean, it's from the simplest questions for me. And I guess maybe there's some anxiety there. I don't really know the best way to describe that. But like, I constantly hear people questioning me on like, what time are you leaving town? Something so simple that I think any other person getting that question is like, oh, 3 o'clock. But for me, I feel such a pressure of like, I have no clue, like none, zero, right? And I don't want to have a clue, quite honestly. For me, it's like, why, right? Like, why is that useful? And for all intents and purposes, to me, it's not, right? So I think that's something, living in the moment for what it takes. I'm currently driving on a back road. Would tend to have on my dash cam, but have that off for testing purposes. Because I think maybe it would be interesting to have road footage while I'm talking sometimes. Like, why not? I mean, all this beautiful foliage on this cloudy, mucky day, right? Yeah, it might be interesting. But yeah, that is definitely something to entertain going forward. I don't know. I think it's a space that I'm in right now is like, oh, I'm actually gonna do this. Like, I'm actually going to record videos and put myself out there. And I mean, I've tried this plenty of times before. And I don't know if I got overwhelmed, if I got bored, if life started lifing, and then I just was like, I'm not doing this. But I truly hope, there's that again, hope, this time will be different for me. And I guess on a certain level, I believe it will be. I'm looking for change. Change needs to happen for me. As far as what my life looks like in the next year is uncertain for me. As far as, where I'm going to be or what I'm going to be doing, I don't know. And like a piece of me is like comfortable with that. And there's a piece of me that's uncomfortable with that. Because like, I am an adult. I do need to take care of myself. And I guess, right, watching these people do van life, okay, I can do that. I can figure that out, right? And I think I'm comfortable in that. What the uncomfortable part is, to go back to the internal pressures from external sources, is how do I make that happen? I don't know. We'll tackle that when it comes up. And I think that that's really uncomfortable in general for people, right? To get outside of the box that you are comfortable in, and even to watch others live outside of a box that we are preconditioned to be comfortable watching them be in because it's the status quo. But I recently took an impromptu trip to like Nebraska for sake of going to Nebraska. And it was freeing. I just decided to get up and go. I didn't care about the logistics. I didn't care about what I needed to do the next day, or I didn't care. And that was scary for my family. Because it was like, what's in Nebraska? I don't know. I found out now. At the time, did not know. Right? And so, I don't know. That's a whole thing for me. Being in a place to say, I'm going to find out. I know you guys are scared. I'm not particularly scared. That's not how my brain works. So, living in that, right? And it was freeing. Period. And that's a change for me. And I guess a welcome change. Because here recently, I guess within the last, now coming up on a year, more or less, right? Less than, but I took a chance on, my emotions or living in my truth, and like, it kind of blew up in my face. And the crazy thing about it is, like, did it blow up in my face? Technically, yes. Do I feel better because of it? Also, technically, yes. I don't know, being able to perceive that, like, everything happens for a reason, and that what's for me will genuinely be there for me, and not to worry about happenstance or, the pain. I think pain is a good teacher. And we often get caught up in the pain and not take the lesson from the pain, or even the blessing of the pain, right? And it sounds crazy explaining that to people that, like, I know it happened for a reason. Like, I'm bummed out, but, like, overall, I'm not too vexed about it, right? Like, the universe, God, however it's put, myself, higher me, the collective us, did it for a reason. Those things fell apart for a reason. But I guess why I bring that up is, like, there's this fear of those things happening due to me taking a chance on my gut feeling, on my emotional heartstrings, or, playing into that, as opposed to working on my more logical side of my brain, which I normally work in. I am a very logical person. Because I did that, because I gave in to those emotions, how I had my life structured didn't work anymore. And I mean, saying it aloud, it makes sense, right? If you live your life so far on one side, when you go to the other, there will be some turbulence. I mean, pendulum, balance, the whole nine, right? But taking that impromptu road trip not only was freeing for me, but it was eye-opening. That, like, that might be a route I can go in life. And if not so far that way of just, like, living on the road, or being so free-spirited in that manner, being free-spirited in general might be for me, and living in that. And I'll admit, I have a history of running from myself, because I feel who I am doesn't fit into the day-to-day commonplace dichotomy of society, And through a series of events, I'm now in a space to say, To heck with it. I'm going to do me. You know, it's interesting because people say I do me. And I guess in a capacity I do. I am always myself. But I often have to express to people that I either have to turn up the saturation on certain parts of my personality or turn down the saturation on other parts of my personality just to fit in. And that's a learned behavior from very early on in life where I felt I did not fit in. And I guess it just didn't stop. And I mean, up until a point, I'd say sometime in uni, I definitely stopped that. But it's also one of those things that, like, it's a very useful tool to code shift and to fit in, to be more likable, to be more personable. And so that mask, though, I guess that mask, though seldom appreciated by me, is used a lot, and it is taxing. I'm constantly worried about how people are going to take one thing or the other. My brain never cuts off in that regard. And it leaves no room for me to truly appreciate the things I actually care about. And it's not to say I don't care about people or how they feel, because I do. I think I would consider myself an empath, or even just an empathic person at the very least. But I guess I want to give space to actually care about myself more. The advice I give to people typically is love yourself more. It's okay to love yourself more. And I guess this is me taking steps to love myself more and be open about it. You know, as I guess I spoke on earlier, is I hope that whatever comes of this, that it touches one person, encourages them to love themselves more, even if the actions that it takes to show love to themselves stands outside of what other people are comfortable with existing, or comfortable with happening, or comfortable watching, or it doesn't matter what makes other people comfortable. And I know this, and I tell other people this, but I, for whatever reason, feel as though I sit in a space where I can't fully live in that. And I think that's just a fear of, I guess there's a piece of fear of rejection, which is weird, but I guess, you know, standard. But then also a fear of, like, being alone or isolating myself from the people who I love and care about, of which I claim to live my life for. I don't want to isolate myself from those people. Isolating myself from those people would just feel like, what's the point? And for me, you know, I struggle with suicidal ideation every day, right? Even driving right now, the thoughts going through my brain, crazy, right? But I guess I'm in and with that, right, I do tether, so to speak, to the people that I love and care about. And I'm very appreciative of them for being who they are and what they are to me. But I also think that holds me back in a way in which I'm not able to do for myself to the fullest capacity. I guess in a way I'm looking to flounder on my own emotionally or communal wise. I don't know exactly, but I do know I want to take a step back and say, okay, if these people really love me like they say that they love me, like I know or feel that they love me taking whatever this is, whatever steps going forward for myself won't detract from that. It'll add to that. It'll give space for me and them. And I hope that's the case. And if it's not, we'll tackle that bridge when we get there. You know, I guess something else I learned about myself is like just how much I enjoy driving, just how much I enjoy the freedom to get up and go. Right now, I am driving in some of the more open fields of Texas, and you know, it's beautiful. Expanses of land, farm cropping, the occasional chocolate cow, you know, and to be able to take that in, especially for someone such as myself, whom like can be described by my parents as a dungeon master, and I guess even by my roommate as like someone with an abnormal sleep pattern and like seldom sees light. It's enjoyable for me. Like, this is my hiking, you know. I don't know. And living in that, being okay with that. Like, this muggy, rainy, foggy, cloudy, whatever day is beautiful to me. You know, I guess this melancholic vibe is joy-inducing. Honestly. So, yeah. Yeah. And being okay with that. Right? I'm the type of person that doesn't necessarily believe in extended happiness. I think happiness comes and goes, and for me, I seldom feel that. And it can maybe also be hard to spot those happy moments. And I guess I feel like those happy moments don't align with how other people see those happy moments, or how people by and large, especially in today's day and age of like social media connectedness but disconnectedness, view happiness. You know, being introverted, I don't, you know, think that it's so much people or the absence of people that puts me in a space of happiness per se, but I think that the absence of people allows me to have more moments where I'm not so worried about how someone is going to perceive my every action, or, you know, so I don't have to wear that mask, basically. And that's freeing to say out loud. You know, thinking it is one thing, but saying it out loud makes it real, you know. Saying it out loud makes it real. So, I guess the audio is okay enough. I need to go back and check it on my laptop. However, should not be the worst thing ever, especially for intended purposes starting out, and I'm not going to harp on that. So, Another lesson for myself. Leaving good enough alone. It's an inner perfectionist from the various hats I wear of like, do it to the best of your ability, which not saying I won't, just saying like, I think there's a certain part of genuinity that I want to portray and embody. Ooh. Yeah. With all of this, with my presence for who I am, I don't want to play up something I'm not. I think that's a fear, being something I'm not. And because, there's, how you see yourself, how the world sees you, and how you want the world to see you. And that can get all muddled very easily. But to the best of my ability, my blah, 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 to the best of my ability, I want to portray myself. I think that's something that I will want to give to someone as a takeaway is be you. There's only one you. In this shape, form, and fashion, there's only one you, right? And it's okay to be you. With the caveat of, no, it's okay to be you. Actually, right? I'm going, no caveat. It's okay to be you. That can get real chaotic, but it's okay to be you. Chaos isn't the worst thing. Sometimes entropy is needed. Closed systems don't always tend towards order. It's a pendulum. Order to chaos, chaos to order. Be you. You were put here for a reason. I guess in me living in my truth and not being afraid to be myself, I hope to inspire that in others as well. What makes up you? It's an interesting question, I think. I was watching Anger Management the other day in passing, and in the movie the question was asked, who are you? And uniquely, main character starts to rattle off what he does for work. And maybe even how he spends his time, hobby-wise. And I guess that's a part of who you are, but it's also a cop-out. Because we don't really go in depth in who we are. Because we live in a very perfunctory world where when someone asks you, how are you doing? You respond, oh, I'm okay. Because at the truth of it all, they don't care. And honestly, in reverse, more times than not, the average person doesn't care either, right? Meaning the askee and the one asked doesn't care to share or to converse over how you're actually doing. I find that I'm a person that stands outside of that. If I ask you, how are you doing? I truly want a genuine answer. But I was still kind of stumped with the question of who am I? That's not to say I can't rattle off who I am. I think, whatever, uniquely. I groom disadvantaged dogs typically in my free time, or at least used to before moving out to Georgia. I work in the film industry doing various jobs. I have my own business doing graphic and web design. I am, the second oldest of 5 kids. No allergies, asthmatic, kind of sarcastic, dry at times. I think I'm rather real. Talk pieces are there, but does that really encompass who I am? Boatload of hobbies. And I guess when I think about the question, the realest answer that comes to mind is, I'm me. Because there is no more defining answer than that. Not even I'm Christian, I'm pause, no, I'm me. Right? Because even the descriptor of, by namesake, still doesn't necessarily feel like it identifies all that encompasses me. But to say that in conversation still begs the question, who are you? Still begs the question, who are you? And then, on top of that, I guess a thought that comes to mind is, even if asked, who are you? The answers you give can also be taken as, if you were really that person, would you have to say it? And I think I'm definitely that type of person. I feel that way about being American, Black, Hispanic roots. I don't feel the need to say that. I just am that. And much in the same way, when asked, who am I? It's the person you see. Maybe. I guess that's a cheeky way of existing. But, food for thought. And I think something I will think on. Who am I? I would love to say I'm caring, but if you have to say you're caring, are you caring? Or does that only apply when you bring it up first? When you decide to tell someone, oh, I'm very caring, I'm very empathetic. And then I'm also curious, how does that work in this form factor? No one's asking me these questions. Arguably, it's just a run-on sentence from my brain, just vomiting, right? Granted, I have these conversations with myself all the time, right? Some would say that's crazy. I would say if you're not having these conversations with yourself, you might be crazy yourself. I was talking with a man at Olive Garden. I tend to go and sit at the bar from time to time and eat copious amounts of breadsticks. And, you know, he was basically coming from a perspective of, when you feel crazy in a room, are you the crazy one, really? And I think that ties back to 5th grade me looking around at all these people like, are you all really present? Like, I get you're here. I get you raised your hand at attendance, but like, are you present mentally? I guess intellectually? Mentally, I guess is you know, like, conscious. You know, can't prove consciousness in anyone else but yourself, which is a scary thought in and of itself. But, you know, am I crazy? And something I've, you know, when this question is brought up to me by others, what does it matter? You know? Was the Mad Hatter really mad, or could he just not explain all the things he knew to those that didn't know? Right? Communication doesn't work so well when, like, you're talking on two different wavelengths. You can say the same thing and it have different meanings. You know? And I think uniquely I fit in that space sometimes. That, like, I can see the jokes of life as they are. Right? And not take it so seriously, whilst also understanding how serious it is when others don't see it in such a way. I've been told plenty of times that, like, you know, it's not that deep. By things that I think are very much so that deep. And then the things that people tend to think are deep, I'm like, yeah, surface. Go deeper, you know? So I don't know. Cruxes of life. Cruxes of life. At the root of it all, I am at a crossroad. And I think I've made the decision. I know I've made the decision. Hope that doesn't stick around for long in terms of the I think. No, I know. But it's definitely a conundrum in my brain to get around. Because I am very much so a person that thinks and knows, but there's just certain things that are hard to admit that, like, I know. Because where's the proof? You know, we grew up in a society that's like, show your work. Why? Plagiarism? Let's be honest. People cheat all the time. Art is from art. You know, life begets art, and art begets life. That whole, you know, circular thing. Chicken or the egg, you know? But, like, I guess that's one of those internal pressures from external sources that, like, I know. But how you prove that? Especially when it comes to matters of yourself. Not very easy, I guess. Not very easy. And I guess to digress, you know, this crossroads I'm at is doing just this. Putting myself out there. It's the less uncomfortable of the things that I'm faced with. I want to live. Even if at times it feels pointless. I want to live for me. Not for family, not for friends, though they are important to me and that'll never diminish. I want to love myself more. I want to live for more. Like I would recommend to anyone else, to love themselves more and to live for themselves. I want to do that. For me. And the fact that I'm even recording this, I think, is surreal. Like, The recording part isn't the hard part. We'll see how I feel in editing. And actually posting. But, I don't know. I'm feeling good about this. I'm feeling good about the decisions I'm making. And my gut. And I'm not afraid of the gut feeling.